No way
Wicked.
no way it goes through
Wicked, right? So messed
I
up.
think it's blocking up the pause.
Oh, no.
Okay, that was
Hyejin is the unlucky shaman prowling around Lumia Island. You can find her exorcising animals, androids, and other test subjects. While spirits and demons are quite spooky, nothing is quite as scary as a Hyejin lurking around the darkness. Explore the island with charms and shamanism on your side, with Hyejin's expertise and efficiency. While playing Hyejin, you will find yourself piloting one of the most unique forms of a control mage across any game. She has one of the best aesthetics in the game, with her dark purple theme being emphasized in her outfits and spells. Her combos and skills do require care to utilize, but you will be greatly rewarded if you properly execute them. Also, you will really frustrate your opponents, and who doesn't love doing that? Hyejin's gameplay requires a great deal of precision. Her kit does contain a good amount of crowd control, burst damage, poke, and mobility, but it lacks any actual defensive abilities. You will find yourself needing to decide whether you want to save spells to protect yourself or potentially take down an opponent. Successfully bursting people down is one of the best feelings in the game, however, one wrong move and you'll be swimming with the spirits. Hyejin's spells are focused on debuffs and burst damage. You must pay particularly close attention to your positioning in order to succeed. Hyejin's passive is 3 calamities. Landing spells applies your passive to your opponents. Upon landing 3 stacks of your passive, your opponent will be briefly feared, causing them to uncontrollably walk away from you. After your opponent is feared, there will be a duration of time where they cannot receive any stacks from your passive. 3 calamities itself has no cooldown, meaning that you can fear multiple opponents as long as you've hit them with abilities 3 times. Hyejin's Q is Charm of Despair. She can hold up to 2 charges of her Q with a set cooldown between each charge. She throws a charm in a straight line, damaging the first enemy hit and slowing them for a moderate amount. Hyejin's W is Charm of the Prophecy. She draws a rectangle on the ground. This rectangle will explode when it's recasted by the player or after a certain period of time. Enemies hit by the explosion will be rooted. The root will always be for the same duration while the damage scales with how long the rectangle has been active. Hyejin's E is Charm of the Nomad. She marks a location, sending a charm flying towards it. This charm will deal damage to enemies it passes through. Hyejin can also recast her E to teleport to the charm's current location. Teleporting to the charm will explode it, dealing damage to enemies around the location. Both instances of damage can apply a stack of Hyejin's passive. This ability is not channeled, meaning you can freely perform actions while the charm is active. Hyejin's ultimate is 5 Omens. She slows herself and channels for a moment before exploding with spiritual energy, dealing damage to opponents around her and applying her passive. When the channel is complete, 5 Omens float clockwise around Hyejin, dealing damage to the first enemy hit and also applying her passive. Be careful when using this ability, as the channel can be cancelled by crowd control. If the charm from her E is active, Hyejin can freely reactivate it to teleport to the charm's location. Doing this will not cancel the ultimate's channel. The next 2 skills are Hyejin's available weapon skills. These weapon skills will not apply any stacks of her passive, but are extremely important to her kit. When you equip shurikens, you'll gain the weapon skill Caltrops. When using Caltrops, Hyejin throws a field of spikes on the ground. These spikes deal damage and slow your opponent. Every spike after the first will do reduced damage. You can cancel the animation of Caltrops by inputting another ability after casting it. When you equip bows, you will gain the weapon skill Rain of Arrows. When using Rain of Arrows, Hyejin fires upon a marked location. After a few seconds, a rain of arrows will hit the ground, dealing significantly more damage in the center area. You can cancel the animation of Rain of Arrows by inputting another ability after casting it. While Hyejin's kit seems fairly straightforward, there's actually a lot of nuance when it comes to properly piloting it. Every ability outside the initial ultimate explosion is a skill shot. This means that the only way to guarantee your abilities connecting with enemies is to utilize your root and fear to guide them into a favorable position. It is not an exaggeration to say that most of Hyejin's spell damage is locked behind the 5 floating omens that are generated from her ultimate. While her basic abilities are fairly impactful, you will find yourself struggling to take down enemy test subjects without correct usage of this ability. When you initially start playing as Hyejin, you might wonder how exactly you are supposed to hit the omens floating around her on opponents who are also aware of their importance. The answer is more simple than you might think, as long as your passive is available. As mentioned earlier, feared opponents will always walk directly away from you. This gives you a telegraphed direction for you to plan your movement around. Oftentimes, you may also be able to sneak a W root at the end of your opponent's fear, allowing you to land a few more omens onto your opponent's unwilling but available face. That being said though, Hyejin's passive is somehow simultaneously the most and least reliable part of her kit. If you hit your spells, it is actually pretty easy to fear your opponents. However, if you fear your opponent too early and you have used too many spells, you might find yourself back in the lobby screen way faster than you expected. This means that you cannot mash your keyboard, activate your fear carelessly, and expect your opponents to allow you to walk away without punishing you. You will always need to have a plan that revolves around your passive regardless of the situation. Proper usage of either of Hyejin's weapon skills are also incredibly important in order to finalize enemy takedowns. Both of these weapon skills can deal a large amount of damage that Hyejin is encouraged to include in her ability rotations. Being comfortable with these weapon skills can also provide necessary utility or damage buffers to use when your ultimate is not available. Since Hyejin's passive is such an important aspect to playing Hyejin, I've decided to include a very brief and basic combo guide here. Again, do not take these combos as gospel. Opponents can dodge many abilities that Hyejin attempts to throw out, and due to the nature of her spells, you may find it difficult to reset skirmishes and retry your preferred combo. Fortunately, many of these combos are applicable between the many styles and gameplay that are possible for Hyejin. What remains the same is efficient and deliberate usage of her crowd control and damage optimizations. While this combo might seem quite obvious, it took me more than a few games to realize its importance, so I'll include it here first. Almost as a general rule, Hyejin's W should be used before or right after the fear from her passive. Doing so gives you the opportunity to either disengage or land more damage. While you can use Hyejin's W as a setup to apply her fear, it can be easily dodged by mobile opponents. The easiest combo to combine Hyejin's ult and fear is to hit Q into W and then her ultimate to fear with the explosion. While this combo is a consistent method of hitting your ultimate explosion, it often leaves you vulnerable to your opponent's abilities. Also, this combo leaves a brief moment where your opponent can cancel your ultimate channel, meaning you should mainly use this against opponents who lack easily accessible interrupts. The more common combo is to send your E charm out, press R to begin the channel, and then recasting your E to teleport near your opponent as the R explosion happens. A useful emergency combo for applying Hyejin's fear is to combine her E and Q, since her E provides two possible applications of her passive, landing both the projectile and recast explosion along with Q will provide you with a nearly instant fear. Be careful in using this combo as it is vulnerable to third parties and CC immunities. One of the most optimal methods to apply Hyejin's fear is through her ultimate, whether it is the explosion or the summoned omens. You will often need to land your Q to slow your opponents to find the proper spacing for this combo. Understanding how to properly adapt to every situation as Hyejin is incredibly difficult. Sometimes you'll need to space out her spells in a way that maximizes her damage output. Other times you might need to purposely miss your ultimate explosion in order to guarantee the omen spawning. And in certain scenarios, you might even be forced to use your spells in a suboptimal fashion to ensure your fear and root land in a certain way. There is always a way to improve the efficiency of your gameplay as this charm-wielding shaman. Thankfully, there are two incredibly knowledgeable and skilled Hyejin players that actively stream on Twitch all the time. If you're in EU, you have the beautiful iDebo to refer to, at least when EU in-houses or ranked heroes are active. If you're in NA, there's GhostElectricity, my good friend who's letting me steal all the Hyejin gameplay you see in the background. I hope you enjoyed this introductory video for Hyejin. She's a ton of fun to learn and play since she constantly tests your knowledge and mechanics for everyone you fight. If you got this far, I'd appreciate it if you dropped a like, commented, or subscribed. More than that though, I hope you had a great day or night and that the spirits bring you good omens tomorrow.